And this is a Fox News alert. A major scandal developing tonight surrounding ABC News chief anchor George Stephanopoulos, who was forced to apologize earlier today over a huge conflict of interest after it was revealed that he donated $75,000 to the Clinton Foundation from 2012 to 2014. Now, the embattled anchor released a statement following the discovery, saying in part, quote, "I thought my contributions were a matter of public record. However, in hindsight, I should have taken the extra step of personally disclosing my donations to my employer and the viewers on air during the recent stories about the foundation. I apologize." Gee, George, you think? Now, what makes this even worse, just a few weeks ago, Stephanopoulos was grilling Clinton cash author Peter Schweizer over findings in his book about the potential wrongdoing from the Clinton Foundation. Watch this.
This is a direct breach of an agreement they signed with the White House.
That is an issue for them, but it's not a criminal. It's not nothing that would warrant a criminal investigation. This deal was approved by a board of the government called the CFIUS board. This actually chaired by the Secretary of Treasury, not the Secretary of State.
Right.
8 other agencies on board: the Secretary of State, Homeland Security, Defense, Commerce, Energy, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission signed off on it. And even though the State Department was one of 9 agencies to sign off on it, there's no evidence at all that Hillary Clinton got directly involved in this decision. The Assistant Secretary of State who sat on the committee said she never intervened on any CFIUS issue at all.
Well, I think that deserves further scrutiny. I would question that. To argue that...
But based on what? Based on what?
Well, I think based on her track record... Do you have
any evidence that she actually intervened in this issue?
They are confirming what I've reported. So people can look at the fact...
They haven't confirmed any evidence of any crime.
Did ABC really investigate? Stephanopoulos coordinate with, in fact, the Clintons. Now, earlier today, Stephanopoulos said he will now not host the ABC Republican presidential debate in New Hampshire. Here with reaction, the reporter who broke this story, Washington Free Beacon's digital managing editor, Andrew Stiles, is with us. Andrew, let's go over some of the history here with Clinton, with Stephanopoulos and the Clintons, and him especially talking about Hillary and Schweizer's book. Watch this.
It's pretty clear that if she decides to run, based on what we know now, for at least a while, she'd be the front runner.
This is a tough one, because when you actually look closely at it, he even says there's no evidence of any direct action taken on behalf of the donors.
Democrats have said this is indication of your partisan interest. They say you used to work for President Bush as a speechwriter. You're funded by the Koch brothers. How do you respond to that?
Andrew, you listen, the most experienced person ever to run for president. He's such a hack. I mean, how could he possibly have not known that he should reveal this? Do you believe that?
Yeah, I don't know. It's certainly questionable that he seems to have forgotten about it and is just coming forward now. The thing about George Stephanopoulos is that, I mean, most people who cover politics closely and follow it, and people in D.C., they know, everyone knows his connection to the Clintons, that he was an operative, and aren't surprised that he made a little donation, or $75,000 donation.
It's a lot of money.
I don't know if most ABC News viewers or Good Morning America viewers really know that, or really follow the careers of political operatives as closely as political reporters.
All right, Andrew, thank you. Joining me now is the man that George Stephanopoulos went after on This Week. He's the author of Clinton Cash, now a New York Times bestseller, Peter Schweizer. By the way, the New York Times, Washington Post did their own investigations based on the foundation of your book. They had hard-hitting pieces. He didn't take them on. He didn't disclose this. Here are my questions for you. Do you believe ABC News really investigation? Or do you think that George Stephanopoulos coordinated, perhaps, with the Clinton campaign here?
Well, first of all, I know that the investigative unit at ABC News has done reporting on the book, and they have substantiated what I found in the book. And I would encourage people to look at the reporting by Brian Ross and Matt Mosk on this. They confirmed the findings as it relates to speeches in Haiti.
So, wait a minute. So, wait, do you suspect, then, that George Stephanopoulos was referring, when he said ABC News has concluded this, do you think he was basically relying on his relationship with the Clintons to say that?
I don't know what he meant when he said that. I mean, that would be a great question to ask him. What did he actually mean when he said ABC News had looked into it? I just don't know what he's referring to there. I think as to the...
Go ahead.
Well, I said as far as coordination is concerned, I mean, you have the fact that he's a donor. You have the fact now it's coming out that he has participated in Clinton Global Initiative events as a panelist, as a speaker multiple times. It raises this question just about the coziness. I mean, you've got the finances, you've got these meetings that he's attending. How you can expect to be objective, you know, is really highly questionable in that kind of environment.
I watched that interview, and I went on TV and radio the next day, and I said, this was a set-up interview. He was like their special pleader and advocate, and it did get noticed by a lot of people. And I said, once a liberal Clinton hack, always a Clinton liberal hack. Let me go back. We went back and we found some video footage of some of the history when he was in the war room. This is from a documentary, and I think this reminds people how close they have been for decades. Watch this.
Now, Governor Clinton has a character problem, but I take it that your line of counterattack is that it's
Bill Clinton's passed his character test throughout his life and throughout this campaign. It's all politics.
And you're convinced it won't work again?
I'm convinced that if they try it, we'll hit them back and they'll fuck it.
Another good night. Clinton, 3 debates, 3 wins.
It is completely bullshit. If you went on the radio and said that Bill Clinton is the father of an illegitimate black child, you would be laughed at. People would think you're crazy. I guarantee you that if you do this, you'll never work in Democratic politics again.
I'm very proud to have done this. I'm as happy as I can be, and I'm so proud. We won Nevada big. Governor, we're going to, I mean, it's looking like close to 400. We ought to be the happiest man in the world. And I just got to tell you, I mean, I just appreciate this so much. This was the best thing I ever did.
What is your reaction to this now, and what do you want from ABC? What would you like them to do? Because they said they're not going to reprimand him.
Well, I think what ABC could do is let's do another interview on the Sunday morning show to talk about the contents of the book. So we actually get a chance for viewers to hear what is in the book. That's the first thing that I would ask. You know, looking at Stephanopoulos' past, I mean, the question to me is really going into that interview, I kind of assumed that the relationship with the Clintons was in the past, that he had made this transition into the media and it was a different chapter in his life. These donations, the fact that he's going to these events, I mean, it raises all kinds of questions about that, and I think it's legitimate for people to look into them. If this was any other political candidate and a reporter doing this, you can bet that there would be some serious consequences.
Do you think this is worse than what Brian Williams exaggerating on some of his stories? Do you think this is a bigger ethical issue?
I think this is an issue that kind of goes to the issue of trust in the media. You know, if you're embellishing stories, obviously that's a trust issue. But this is a very, very important one because you're talking about interviewing an author who's written a book that is critical and raises lots of questions about the Clinton Foundation. You're giving money to them, and you don't expose that and explain that to the public. Argument that he thought it was public and people would know about it, you know, is ridiculous.
That's absurd.
It was public that I was a speechwriter for George Bush for 3 months, but he felt it was important to mention it, and rightfully so. But he doesn't disclose his conflict. It just doesn't make any sense.
All right, Peter Schweizer, thank you. And my next